It's a pleasure to be able to speak to you.
Likewise.
Congratulations on the film. I just wanted to go back to the beginning. How were you approached about this project? Were you able to get to read the whole script immediately, or were you just sent a portion of it when you auditioned?
No, I was able to read the whole thing, and I didn't know Pauline because it's her first film, and so I'm always kind of like putting off reading scripts because it's often, it's rare that it's a great script. And then once I sat down to read it, I was so moved by it, so overwhelmed by it. I thought it was so stunningly beautiful and surprising, and it also really felt like it was like the person who had written this had to write this. Like it didn't feel like someone was trying to find an idea for a movie, which I don't love, and you can always kind of feel. And then I met Pauline for the audition, and she was the warmest, most welcoming, and it felt like she was really looking to see in my soul, very piercing in a very well-meaning way, not in a perverse or intrusive way at all. And yeah, I just loved her, and I loved the script, and yeah, I was very happy to then be able to do it.
And then meeting her and tackling the titular character of Nino, what was that process like? What was the approach you had for him as a character?
I don't know. After I auditioned, I think it took a year and a half before we shot, which isn't that long. But I remember Pauline telling me a lot, you don't have to do anything. And it took me a while to understand what she meant by that. And I think after preparation and meeting the other actors, and I understood what she meant. It's a character who's kind of outside of things, and with kind of a well-meaning eye. It's not bitter that he's outside of things. He's just kind of like outside of life a little bit. And so to me, I really had to understand who he was before the diagnosis at the beginning of the film, to understand what it changes, and to understand how he then, to me, becomes someone who opens his eyes for the first time in a long time, actually. So I think understanding who he's been since his father's death, and without getting too much in the details, but who he's been was the most important thing, to then be able to understand how his life has changed so quickly.
When you read about the synopsis, it's sends a different message than what the actual film is about. And I'm curious, there's this, I wouldn't say pragmatism to his the way he lives his life, in a very, he has his task that he wants to complete, and he has to find the way around getting into his flat, or not being able to get into his flat. Is that more difficult to have to narrow it down to the little tasks? Because I imagine as an actor, you want to have the big emotional outbursts, right?
I think that how he latches on to the small tasks, as you say, is very much an indicator of who he is and how he deals with this. Latching on, really focusing on the small tasks, is also how he deals with the bigger ones, or not the bigger tasks, but the bigger emotional underlying foundations. I think that we're telling the story of someone who, on Knott's speech, also, it's a throat cancer. There's a reason for that. To me, he sort of grew up in a house where they were talking, him and his mom, but the really important things weren't said, weren't told. The really important questions weren't asked. Salome's character, Zoe, says in the film that she was very impressed by him when they were in class together, because I think 2 days after his father's death, he came back to school, right? I don't want to over-explain things, but it's just, it goes back to what you were saying. And so to me, he's a character who's been forced into going through life and not feeling things. And there's kind of a big wall that's between him and life. That creates this kind of outsideness. And so I think that going through the tasks and doing the things that you have to do is kind of a way of coping also, and a way of surviving and going through life. But all of these tasks are still very weighted with meaning. He has to have some of his sperm and so he has to have an orgasm. So that in itself is incredibly difficult. It's like he has to be connected to his body, he has to be connected to sensuality, he has to be connected to a lot of things that are very much in life. And it's also, I think, the question of, if life is so hard for you, Do you really want to give life? Is it really something that you want to put on someone if it's really hard for you? And then he also has to find someone to accompany him to his first treatment. It's all, so it goes back to things have to be said, things have to be felt, things have to be exteriorized, speech, orgasm. So yeah, I mean, it all goes back to the real thing that he's going through, which is slowly coming back to life.
There are these unexpected bits of humor that are never, they never push it too far. It's like a smile bit of humor, not directly poking fun of any of the situations. How difficult was it to find a balance for that?
Well, it was in the script, and Pauline, it's very much her tone as well. She is, filled with tragedy and humor. She's incredibly funny, but that there's kind of turmoil also. A lot is going on behind her eyes. The movie is very much connected to death and to life, and I think that there's a lot of humor in that as well. I don't know, it wasn't really difficult. It felt quite natural because it was so well written in the script. And it's also the reality of these things are more surprising than you think. Some people close to me have had a cancer, and it also felt like that a little bit. Like the ways that they would tell me that they have cancer was so surprising, and not, sitting down and it's so. And there's also kind of humor in it sometimes, and it's never really how we think it is. It was in the script. It's good writing, great writing. It's very easy to follow when it's there.
I want to talk a bit about the practicalities. Did you film in order of, did you film it chronologically?
No, we didn't. We started with all the scenes with Zoe, so kind of the end a little bit, yeah.
Because I imagine that makes it that makes it a bit more difficult to get back into the spaces, because we have him we're chronicling his 3 days.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily. I think it's good sometimes to cinema, like shooting a movie is so much about spontaneity and just accepting the elements as they are, because you can't control everything, because, you're moving around, you don't have time to rehearse, and so it's just kind of like a lot of it has to do with staying alive and making life happen and accepting how it comes. So no, I think you follow the writing and you follow what's there on set, and it has to inform the movie and how your character moves through things. And it's also kind of the responsibility of the director manipulate fiction and reality a little bit to create a certain environment. But yeah, I mean, it's a boring answer, but you also get used to it as an actor to shoot in different orders. But sometimes I think it allows you to not try and do something, because if you do shoot in chronological order, you can be like, okay, this will happen here, this needs to happen there, this needs to happen then, and it's good to let surprises happen. It needs to happen because, and especially for this movie, it was all about letting go of control for me anyway, and really trusting. So because it's a character who's completely naked in a way, and so I couldn't feel like I was up there, manipulating the character. I had to just be there and let other elements manipulate me.
That's an interesting cue point for me, because I love the locations. They're so textured, because even the beginning scene of the diagnosis where Nino's constantly distracted by the building noises. How much of that was actual location, or?
No, that was in the script. Yeah, that was in the script, and that was very much they were hired construction workers.
Okay, but props to you, because I was really curious. Like, was that? It felt very authentic and very textured.
It's the chaos of that scene also, and of the brutality of the world. I think he's not probably at that point not getting out of the house too much. Yeah, I mean, it's the piercing sound, and kind of like you're as focused on that as this. Like, how can this be reality? I guess.
And then, as a almost contrast, the party scene where everybody tries to be as normal as you possibly can with these circumstances, but it's again like the outside impulses are so different.
Yeah.
Could you just speak a little bit about filming that scene?
All the party stuff. Well, first of all, it was very funny and very fun to be with a lot of people in a different energy for the shoot. And also a lot of these moments are funny, like the Lola, the girl talking to me about horoscope, and I'm kind of just listening to them, and or the guy, the coworker of my best friend, played by Alexandre. I mean, it was just funny for me to see them do their thing. So I had a good time doing that. To me, it's kind of like, it's not that different than how he would be probably before the diagnosis. I think, as Sofiane says in the movie, like, try to put on a smile, try not to be too dark, and so I think he's been weighted down for a long time, and an environment like that of a party is already something that's quite alien to him, and demands a kind of superhuman strength to go through, because he is not in life. He's not able to just kind of do that. But yeah, I mean, it was fun, and it was fun also to kind of have those moments where he says for the first time that he has cancer in ways that are unexpected even for him. And to find the balance of that, and also the moments of connection with Sofiane's sister, Lina, in the bathroom where she is getting hormone injections. So it's kind of like all moments of disconnection and connection and alienness, and then closeness, and that's very important in the film. It's kind of like people are talking to him, at him. It's still very hard at that point in the film for him to say things. So even when he says things for the first time, he's not really saying them yet, or he's not really, I think, living them. So I am doing an accent for the film. It's not my accent, and I love shooting in France, and I loved this shoot, and I do feel at home there, but my home is Montreal. It's great. I'm happy. I'm very excited. My mom is seeing the premieres tonight at TIFF, so my mom is seeing it for the first time, and I'm happy that she's here. So yeah, I'm very excited. I'm excited also for my friends to see it, and I'm very happy and proud of this movie and proud of Pauline. So the more people see it, I'm happy. And it's the kind of film that I would want to see, I think. Anyway, it really moved me to do it, and I'm happy to see that it moves people when they see it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.